The lecture hall smelled like metal and something Daniel could not quite identify. He sat in the back row, watching other students file in with their colorful skin and strange body shapes. Some had 4 arms. Others had scales that shimmered under the lights. A few glowed faintly in the dim corners of the room. Daniel Reed was human, just human. No special abilities, no impressive size, no natural armor or weapons. He carried a worn backpack and wore the standard academy uniform that fit him poorly. The other students gave him looks, some curious, most dismissive. A massive creature with gray skin and tusks pushed past him without apology. Another student, thin and covered in crystal-like formations, deliberately moved seats when Daniel tried to sit nearby. Professor Drouth entered the room. The Rakan instructor stood nearly 8 feet tall with thick muscles and battle scars across his face. He activated the holographic display at the front of the room. "Today we discuss dangerous fauna," Drouth announced. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Specifically, how to contain aggressive predators without getting yourselves killed." The hologram showed a snarling creature with too many teeth and claws like daggers. Students leaned forward, interested. Daniel pulled out his notebook and began taking notes by hand. Most others used digital tablets. "Shock nets," Drouth continued. "Stun weapons, containment fields, these are your tools. Hesitation gets you killed. Aggression keeps you alive." Daniel raised his hand. Several students turned to look at him. A few snickered. "Yes," Drouth said, his tone already impatient. "What about nonviolent containment?" Daniel asked. "If we study their behavior patterns, we could use calming pheromones or avoid confrontation entirely." Silence fell over the classroom. Then someone laughed, others joined in. Torgeth, the largest student in class, spoke up from the front row. "Typical human softness. You think you can talk a predator out of eating you." More laughter. Daniel felt heat rise to his face but kept his expression neutral. "Predators respond to strength," Torgeth continued. "Not weakness. This is why humans are barely accepted here. No warrior instinct." Professor Drouth held up a hand for silence. "Reed, your suggestion is noted. However, in real situations, you will not have time for behavioral analysis. You react or you die. Moving on." Daniel sank lower in his seat. He wrote in his notebook anyway, making notes about alternative approaches. His mother ran a veterinary station on New Montana. He grew up helping injured animals. He knew fear-based aggression from true danger. But no one here wanted to hear that. The lecture continued. Drouth showed case studies of failed containment operations. Each one ended with casualties. Each one reinforced the same message: be aggressive, be strong, or be dead. After class, Daniel gathered his materials slowly. Other students left in groups, talking and laughing together. No one waited for him. Kellen, his assigned study partner, approached. The Lumini student's crystalline body refracted light in rainbow patterns. "Daniel, about the group project." "Yes," Daniel looked up hopefully. "I think it would be better if we worked separately, then combined our research later." Kellen would not meet his eyes. "My other friends suggested it would be more efficient." Daniel understood. Kellen did not want to be seen working with the weak human. "Sure, whatever works best." Kellen left quickly. Daniel finished packing his bag. The worn medical kit inside shifted as he moved. His grandmother gave it to him before she died. She told him that healing was the bravest thing anyone could do. The academy did not see it that way. The hallway outside buzzed with activity. Students from dozens of species moved between classes. Daniel walked alone, keeping his head down. He heard whispers as he passed. "That is the human. I heard he suggested hugging the predators. His species barely survived their own planet. Now they think they belong here." Daniel kept walking. He knew this would be difficult. Humans were new to the galactic community. Only 3 were enrolled at the academy this year. The others stayed in their dorms most of the time, avoiding the harassment. But Daniel came here for a reason. He wanted to prove humans had value beyond military strength. That compassion and understanding mattered just as much as fighting ability. That kindness was not weakness. The cafeteria was crowded. Daniel grabbed a tray and found an empty table in the corner. He ate alone, reviewing his notes. Around him, other students celebrated, competed, and bonded. He was invisible to them, or worse, visible but dismissed. Shara, a sleek Velrani with silver fur and sharp features, walked past his table. She was in his xenobiology class, one of the top students. She glanced at him, then deliberately turned away. Her friends laughed at something she said. Daniel did not need to hear it to know they were mocking him. He finished eating quickly. As he stood to leave, the announcement system activated. "Attention all second-year students," the voice echoed through the cafeteria. "Mandatory field expedition to Tarath 9 begins in 3 days. This is a survival training exercise. Group assignments will be posted tonight. Prepare accordingly." The room erupted in excited chatter. Tarath 9 was famous among academy students, a moon covered in dangerous wildlife. Many students failed the exercise. Some got seriously injured. It was the test that separated the capable from the weak. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. He would be assigned to a group. They would resent having him. They would probably try to get him removed from the exercise. Or worse, they would let him come and then abandon him at the first sign of trouble. He returned to his dorm and checked the assignment board on his tablet. His name appeared in Group 7 along with 3 others, Torgath, Shara, and Bryn. Torgath, who openly mocked him, Shara, who treated him like he did not exist, Bryn, a quiet lumini he barely knew. Daniel sat on his bed and opened the medical kit. Inside were bandages, antiseptic, surgical tools, and emergency supplies. Everything was organized perfectly. He checked each item, making sure nothing was missing. His roommate was gone for the weekend. The room was quiet. Daniel lay back and stared at the ceiling. In 3 days, he would be on Tarath 9 with a group that hated him, surrounded by predators that wanted to kill him, with equipment that was older and less effective than what everyone else had. He thought about quitting, going home. His family would welcome him back. No one would blame him. But his grandmother's voice echoed in his memory. Brave is not the absence of fear. Brave is doing what is right even when you are terrified. Daniel closed his eyes. In 3 days, everything would change. He just did not know how much. The transport ship rattled as it broke through Tarath 9 atmosphere. Daniel gripped his seat harness and tried not to look nervous. Across from him, Torgath sat relaxed with his arms crossed. Shara cleaned her claws with deliberate slowness. Bryn stared out the window, her crystalline features unreadable. No one had spoken to Daniel since they boarded. That was fine. He spent the trip reviewing the mission, briefing on his tablet. Track a predator, document its behavior, contain it safely. Return to base camp, simple on paper, deadly in practice. The ship landed hard. The loading ramp lowered, revealing a forest unlike anything on Earth. Purple vegetation stretched in every direction. Trees with black bark and glowing leaves created a canopy that filtered the light into strange patterns. The air smelled sweet and wrong. "Group 7, move out," Professor Drouth's voice crackled through their comm units. "You have 48 hours. Do not make me come looking for you." Torgath immediately took charge. "I lead. Shara, you track. Bryn, handle navigation. Human, try not to die." Daniel said nothing. He adjusted his backpack and followed the group into the forest. His equipment was basic compared to theirs. They had advanced scanners and weapons. He had a compass, a knife, and his medical kit. The Academy provided what it considered appropriate for each species' capabilities. They walked for 2 hours. The forest grew denser. Strange sounds echoed around them, clicks and whistles and low rumbles that made Daniel's skin prickle. Twice they spotted small creatures watching from the shadows. Each time, Shara raised her weapon until the animals fled. "There," Bryn said quietly, pointing at the ground. "Tracks, large predator moving east." Torgath knelt to examine the prints. "Thornback, good. They are aggressive but predictable. We follow, set up containment, and finish early." Daniel studied the tracks too. Something seemed off. The spacing was irregular. One of the prints showed less weight distribution on the left side. "It might be injured," he said. Torgath did not even look at him. Thornbacks are not intelligent enough to fake injury. Move. They continued following the trail. Daniel noticed more signs: disturbed vegetation, marks on tree bark where something scraped against them heavily, blood drops nearly invisible against the purple ground. "We should approach carefully," Daniel tried again. "An injured predator is more dangerous." "An injured predator is easier to contain," Shara said coldly. "Which you would know if you paid attention in class instead of writing poetry about animal feelings." The group laughed. Even Bryn smiled slightly. Daniel fell silent. He stayed at the back of the group and kept watching the signs around them. The trail led them deeper into territory where the vegetation grew thicker and the light grew dimmer. Then they found the feeding site. Bones scattered across a clearing. Some were massive, from creatures Daniel could not identify. Others looked fresh. The smell hit them immediately: death and decay. "Thornback territory," Torgath said with satisfaction. "Set up the containment perimeter here. When it returns to feed, we capture it." "Bad idea," Daniel said before he could stop himself. "This is its home. It will defend aggressively. We should observe from a distance first." Torgath turned on him. "I have heard enough from you, human. You are here because Academy rules require full group participation. You contribute nothing. You know nothing. Stay quiet or go back to base." Daniel's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Torgath began issuing orders. Shara unpacked shock nets. Bryn activated portable force field generators. They set up an ambush around the feeding site. Daniel moved to the edge of the clearing. Something felt wrong. The forest was too quiet now. The usual background noise of small creatures had stopped completely. Then he saw it. Movement in the shadows. Not the thornback they were hunting, something smaller, faster. It circled the clearing, watching them. "Torgath," Daniel said urgently, "we are being watched." "Of course we are," Torgath replied without looking. "Predators observe prey before attacking. That is why we set the trap." "No, I mean something else. Something is behind us." "Human paranoia," Shara muttered. The attack came from 3 directions at once. The thornback erupted from the undergrowth, but it was massive, far larger than the database indicated. Armor plating covered its body, quills extended from its back like spears, and it was clearly enraged. Torgath shouted orders. Shara activated the shock nets. They deployed too slowly. The thornback smashed through the nets like they were nothing. One of its quills launched toward Bryn. She threw herself sideways, but the quill grazed her shoulder. She cried out in pain. "Retreat," Torgath yelled. The group scattered. Daniel ran toward Bryn while the others fled in different directions. He reached her as she struggled to stand. The quill had torn through her protective suit. Crystal fragments from her injured shoulder flickered and dimmed. "Can you walk?" Daniel asked. "I think so." Her voice was tight with pain. Daniel helped her to her feet. The thornback roared behind them, destroying their equipment. They ran together into the forest, taking a path that led away from the feeding site. Behind them, the sounds of destruction continued, then stopped. The sudden silence was worse. They ran until Bryn collapsed. Daniel caught her and looked around. Dense forest surrounded them. No sign of Torgath or Shara, no sound of pursuit. He activated his comm unit. Static. The electromagnetic interference from the native plants blocked their signal. "We are lost," Bryn said weakly. Daniel scanned their surroundings. To the left, he spotted a dark opening in a rock formation. "Cave. We can rest there and treat your wound." They moved carefully toward the cave entrance. Daniel helped Bryn inside. He activated a small light from his pack. The cave was larger than it appeared from outside, extending back into darkness. Then they heard it, a low whimper from deeper in the cave. They were not alone. Bryn gripped Daniel's arm. "We should leave now." Daniel raised his light. In the beam, 2 eyes reflected back at them, green and bright. A shape moved in the shadows, smaller than the thornback but still dangerous. A creature covered in fur that looked almost crystalline. It limped forward slightly. One paw was wrapped in thorny vines, blood seeping through. The creature whimpered again, then growled, not aggressive, defensive, afraid. "It is hurt," Daniel whispered. "So are we," Bryn hissed. "Daniel, we need to go." But Daniel was already moving forward, slowly reaching for his medical kit. "What are you doing?" Bryn demanded. "Something stupid," Daniel admitted. "Or something right, I am not sure which yet." The creature watched Daniel with intelligent eyes. It was roughly the size of a large wolf but built differently. 6 legs instead of 4. Fur that caught the light like glass fibers, a long tail that twitched nervously, and that injured paw swollen and bleeding. "Daniel, this is insane," Bryn whispered from behind him. "That is a silvern. They hunt in packs. Where there is one, there are others." "This one is alone," Daniel said quietly. He kept his eyes on the silvern. "And hurt, it needs help." "We need help. I am injured. We are lost. We do not have time for this." Daniel understood her fear. He felt it too. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. But he also saw the pain in the creature's eyes, the way it held its paw off the ground, the slight trembling in its body. He slowly removed his helmet. The action made him vulnerable. The silvern could kill him easily now, but he needed the creature to see his face, to understand he was not a threat. "Hey there," Daniel said softly. "I know you are scared. I am scared too, but I want to help. Will you let me?" The silvern growled low, not aggressive, uncertain. Daniel opened his medical kit carefully. He held up a roll of bandages where the creature could see. "This is for wounds. It will help the pain stop. I promise I will not hurt you more than necessary." Behind him, Bryn made a sound of disbelief. "You are talking to it like it understands you." "Pain is a universal language," Daniel replied. "So is kindness." He took one step forward. The silvern tensed but did not retreat. Another step. The creature's ears flattened against its head. Another step. Daniel was now within striking distance. One snap of those jaws and his throat would be gone. He knelt down slowly, keeping his movements gentle and predictable. "I am going to look at your paw now," he said. "You can bite me if you need to, but please try not to." He reached out with one hand. The silvern flinched but held still. Daniel's fingers hovered inches from the injured paw. The thorny vines were embedded deep in the flesh. Local plant with barbed thorns designed to catch and hold. The creature must have stepped into a patch of them. "This is going to hurt," Daniel said honestly. "But after it will feel better. I need you to trust me." He looked into the silvern's eyes. For a moment they stared at each other. Human and alien predator, both afraid, both alone. Then the silvern lowered its head slightly. Not submission, permission. Daniel began working. He pulled specialized tweezers from his kit. One by one he removed the thorns. Each time he pulled one free, the silvern whimpered, but it did not pull away. It did not snap at him. "You are doing great," Daniel murmured. "Almost done, just a few more." Bryn watched in silence. Her earlier protests had died in her throat. She had never seen anything like this. Daniel removed the last thorn. The silvern let out a long breath. He quickly applied antiseptic to the wound. The creature flinched at the sting but remained still, watching Daniel's face. "Last step," Daniel said. He wrapped clean bandages around the paw, tying them securely but not too tight. His grandmother taught him this. Always leave room for swelling. Always check circulation. When he finished, he sat back. "There, all done." The silvern examined its bandaged paw. It tentatively put weight on it, then more weight. The pain was clearly reduced. The creature looked at Daniel again, then it did something unexpected. It licked his hand. The gesture was so simple, so trusting, that Daniel felt tears burn his eyes. He reached up slowly and touched the silvern's head. The crystalline fur was softer than he expected. The creature leaned into the touch. "I told you," Daniel whispered. "Kindness works." "Unbelievable," Bryn said. She had moved closer, her pain apparently forgotten in her shock. The instructors will never believe this. Daniel helped her sit down. He examined her shoulder wound, less serious than he feared. The quill had not penetrated deep. He cleaned and bandaged it with his remaining supplies. The Silvern watched them both. When Daniel finished treating Bryn, the creature moved closer. It pressed against his side, seeking warmth. "We should rest here until morning," Daniel said. "Then try to find the base camp." Bryn nodded. She was exhausted. Her injury and the stress had drained her. Within minutes, she was asleep against the cave wall. Daniel sat with the Silvern. He shared some of his food rations with the creature. It ate gratefully, then settled beside him with its head on his lap. "Thank you for trusting me," Daniel said quietly. He stroked the creature's fur. "I know how hard that was." The Silvern made a sound like a purr, different from a cat, deeper, more musical. Daniel thought about his classmates, about their mockery, about Torgath's words, no warrior instinct, typical human softness, weakness. Was this weakness, helping something in pain, choosing compassion over aggression? He did not think so. It took strength to approach a predator unarmed. It took courage to be gentle when everything around you told you to be violent. It took wisdom to see past fear to the truth underneath. The academy taught survival through dominance, but dominance only created more fear, more violence, more death. Understanding created something different: connection, trust, peace. The ground trembled slightly. Daniel tensed. The Silvern's ears perked up. Another tremor, stronger this time. Then a roar, deep and furious, coming from outside the cave. The Thornback had found them. Daniel's heart sank. They were trapped. No weapons, limited supplies. Bryn was injured. The Silvern was injured. And outside, a creature 10 times their size wanted revenge for the attack earlier. The Silvern stood up, positioning itself between Daniel and the cave entrance. Its lips pulled back in a snarl. The creature was protecting him. "No," Daniel said. He stood and placed himself in front of the Silvern. "I will not let you get hurt because of me." The shadow appeared at the cave entrance, massive, blocking out the light. The Thornback had arrived. Daniel stood his ground. Behind him, Bryn woke with a gasp. The Silvern growled. The Thornback roared. And Daniel Reed, the weak human who everyone mocked, did the only thing he could think of. He stepped forward to meet the monster. "Please," he said to the Thornback, "let me help you too." The Thornback filled the cave entrance completely. Its armor plating scraped against stone as it pushed forward. Quills rattled on its back like deadly wind chimes. The creature's breath came in harsh, pained gasps. Daniel's hands shook, but he forced himself to stay calm. Behind him, Bryn was whispering desperate prayers in her native language. The Silvern pressed against Daniel's leg, growling protectively. Then Daniel saw it. The Thornback's left rear leg was dragging slightly. Cables from the shock net were still embedded in the flesh, twisted and tangled. The skin around them was inflamed and infected. Every movement caused the creature pain. "You are hurt," Daniel said. His voice came out steadier than he felt. "That is why you are so angry. The net is still in you." The Thornback roared. Spittle flew from its jaws. It could kill Daniel in seconds. One swipe of those claws, one bite with those teeth. Over. But it had not attacked yet, just roared and postured. Daniel slowly raised his hands, showing they were empty. "I know you want to hurt us. We hurt you first, but I can help. I can make the pain stop." "Daniel, what are you doing?" Bryn's voice was high with panic. "Something Professor Drouth never taught us," Daniel replied. "Empathy." He took one step toward the Thornback. The creature snapped its jaws in warning. Daniel froze but did not retreat. "I helped your friend here," Daniel gestured to the Silvern. "See the bandage. I removed thorns, cleaned the wound. The pain is less now. I can do the same for you." The Thornback looked at the Silvern. The smaller creature had stopped growling. It sat calmly beside Daniel, its bandaged paw visible. The Thornback's eyes moved between them, trying to understand this strange situation. Another step. Daniel kept talking in that same calm, soothing voice his mother used with frightened animals. The cables are infected. They need to come out. It will hurt when I remove them, but then the healing can start. Please let me try." He opened his medical kit slowly, showed the thornback his tools. The creature watched every movement but did not attack. "This is insane," Bryn whispered. "Thornbacks do not negotiate. They do not understand compassion." "Everything understands pain," Daniel said, "and everything understands relief from pain." He took another step, then another. He was now close enough to touch the thornback, close enough to die instantly if the creature chose violence. Instead, the thornback shifted its weight, exposing its injured leg more clearly. An invitation, or maybe a test. Daniel knelt beside the massive predator. This close, he could smell the infection, see the swelling around the embedded cables, feel the heat radiating from the inflamed tissue. "This is going to hurt," he warned. "Try not to eat me." He gripped the first cable. The thornback's muscles tensed. Daniel pulled steadily, working the twisted metal free from flesh. The creature roared in pain but held still. Blood flowed from the wound. Daniel kept working. Second cable, third. Each one embedded deeper than the last, each removal causing more pain, but the thornback did not strike him, did not even flinch away. "Almost done," Daniel murmured. "You are so brave, just one more." The last cable was the worst, twisted around muscle tissue. Daniel had to cut away damaged flesh to free it. The thornback's breathing grew rapid. Its claws dug furrows in the cave floor, but still it held still. Finally, the last cable came free. Daniel dropped it and immediately began cleaning the wound. He used the last of his antiseptic, knowing he had nothing left for other emergencies. He tore his shirt into strips to create bandages large enough for the thornback's leg. When he finished, he sat back. His hands were covered in blood. His supplies were gone. He was exhausted and terrified and strangely exhilarated. The thornback examined its bandaged leg. It stood and tested its weight. The pain was clearly reduced. The creature turned to look at Daniel. For a long moment they stared at each other. Predator and prey, alien and human, two beings who should have been enemies. Then the thornback lowered its massive head and touched Daniel's shoulder gently with its snout. The gesture was unmistakable. Gratitude. Daniel reached up and touched the creature's armored face. "You are welcome." The silvern approached, limping on its healing paw. It touched noses with the thornback. Some communication passed between them that Daniel could not understand. Then both creatures moved to stand on either side of Daniel, flanking him, protecting him. "By the ancestors," Bryn breathed, "what are you?" "Just someone who thinks there is a better way," Daniel said. Light suddenly flooded the cave entrance. Voices shouted. A search party had arrived. "Movement detected. Prepare weapons." Daniel stood quickly, positioning himself between the creatures and the newcomers. Professor Drouth pushed into the cave, followed by Torgath, Shara, and several other instructors. All carried heavy weapons. "Reed," Drouth barked. "Step away from those predators immediately." "No," Daniel said. Shocked silence. Students did not refuse direct orders from instructors. "They are injured and docile," Daniel continued. "They will not attack unless threatened. Lower your weapons." "The human has lost his mind," Torgath said. "Sir, permission to tranquilize all 3 targets." "Denied," Drouth said slowly. His eyes moved over the scene, the bandaged creatures, Daniel standing between them, the medical supplies scattered around. "Explain yourself, Reed." Daniel gestured to the silvern. "This one had thorns embedded in its paw. I removed them and bandaged the wound. The thornback had shock net cables causing infection. I removed those as well. Both creatures are now calm because they are no longer in pain." "You treated wild predators," Shara said in disbelief. "You used medical supplies on animals." "Sentient beings," Daniel corrected. "In pain, yes, I helped them, and they helped me in return. They protected us when we were vulnerable. Is that not what the Academy teaches? Mutual cooperation." Torgath raised his weapon. "Enough of this nonsense. These are dangerous animals. They need to be contained." He fired, the tranquilizer dart shot. Toward the thornback. The silvern leaped. It intercepted the dart mid-flight, taking the sedative meant for its companion. The creature collapsed, unconscious before hitting the ground. No, Daniel dropped beside the silvern, cradling its head. He looked up at Torgath with fury in his eyes. If anyone touches them again, you will answer to me. The entire search party stared at the human. Weak, unarmed, outmatched in every way, threatening a warrior twice his size. Torgath laughed. You stop me, you are nothing. Maybe, Daniel said, but I am nothing that just saved 2 lives today. What did you save? Torgath's laughter died. The thornback moved beside Daniel, standing over the unconscious silvern, protecting them both. Its message was clear. To hurt Daniel, they would have to go through this apex predator first. Professor Drouth held up his hand. Everyone lower your weapons. We return to base camp immediately. And Reed, you and I are going to have a very long conversation. The medical bay hummed with quiet machinery. Daniel sat beside a large recovery tank where the silvern floated in healing fluid. The creature's eyes were closed, but its vital signs showed steady improvement. Through the window, he could see the thornback in a special outdoor enclosure. Both creatures were healing well. Daniel was not sure if he would be allowed to stay at the academy long enough to see them fully recover. The formal hearing was scheduled in 1 hour. Charges, protocol violations, endangering team members, unauthorized treatment of dangerous wildlife, possible punishment, expulsion. They are doing better, a voice said behind him. Daniel turned. Bryn stood in the doorway. Her shoulder was fully healed. Lumini regenerated quickly. Yes, Daniel said, they are strong. Bryn sat beside him. I testified already, told them everything that happened, what you did. Thank you. I am not sure it helped. Chancellor Vorath seems determined to make an example of you. She paused. Torgath has been telling everyone you lost your mind, that you put the entire expedition at risk. Maybe I did, Daniel admitted. Maybe I should have just left them in pain, come back and reported it, let the professionals handle it. Do you believe that? Daniel looked at the silvern. No, I would do it again. That is what I told them, that you knew the risks and chose compassion anyway. Bryn stood. Good luck. Daniel, for what it is worth, I think you were brave. She left. Daniel remained a few minutes longer, then headed to the hearing chamber. The room was smaller than he expected. 3 administrators sat at a raised platform. Chancellor Vorath in the center, his scarred, hrackened face showing no emotion. To his left, Adjunct Lyrian, a lumini with features like cut diamonds. To his right, Dean Orthan, a silver-furred Velrani with calculating eyes. Students filled the gallery. Torgath sat in the front with Shara beside him. Others Daniel recognized from classes. Most looked curious, some looked hostile, a few looked sympathetic. Daniel Reed, Vorath's voice boomed. You stand accused of serious violations. How do you plead? I do not deny what I did, Daniel said. If that is the same as guilty, then guilty. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Proceed with testimony, Vorath ordered. Torgath took the stand first. He described the expedition in harsh terms, how Daniel ignored orders, how his actions separated the group, how his obsession with the creatures put everyone at risk. He is emotionally unstable, Torgath concluded. Humans lack the discipline for academy training. This incident proves it. Shara testified next. She supported Torgath's account, adding details about Daniel's earlier behavior in class, his constant questioning of approved methods, his refusal to accept that violence was sometimes necessary. He thinks kindness can solve everything, Shara said. But the galaxy is not kind. His weakness endangers us all. Dean Orthan nodded along with her testimony. Adjunct Lyrian took notes without expression. Chancellor Vorath watched Daniel. Professor Drouth testified about the rescue operation, how they found Daniel standing between 2 predators, how he refused orders to stand down, how one creature took a tranquilizer dart meant for another. However, Drouth added, I must note that both creatures were indeed docile. Reed's treatment appeared to be effective, and his containment method, while unorthodox, achieved the mission objective without casualties. Are you defending his actions? Vorath asked. I am providing complete facts, Chancellor. What the panel does with those facts is not my decision. Daniel was called to testify. He told the truth simply. He saw creatures in pain. He helped them. They responded with trust instead of aggression. Why? Vorath demanded. Why? Risk your life for animals. They are not just animals, Daniel said. They are sentient beings capable of fear, pain, and gratitude, the same as us. Intelligence comes in many forms. Compassion should too. Compassion is a luxury, Vorath replied. In survival situations, you eliminate threats, you do not nurse them. With respect, Chancellor, that is why the Thornback attacked so aggressively. It was responding to pain we caused. When I removed that pain, the threat ended. Violence created the danger. Compassion resolved it. Or you were lucky, Dean Orthan said coldly. Next time, such foolishness will get you killed. Maybe, Daniel agreed. But I would rather die trying to help than live knowing I caused unnecessary suffering. The gallery erupted in whispers. Vorath called for silence. Does anyone else wish to testify? Bryn stood. I do. She described watching Daniel approach the Silvern, his calm demeanor, his skill, how the creature responded to his gentle treatment. I mocked him before this, Bryn said quietly. We all did, called him weak for suggesting nonviolent methods, but he was not weak. He was brave, braver than any of us. We chose fear and aggression because it was easy. He chose compassion because it was right. Other students began standing. One by one they asked to testify, students Daniel barely knew. They described small kindnesses, times he helped them with difficult concepts, moments when he showed patience instead of judgment. He tutored me for 3 hours when I was failing xenobiology, a student said. Never made me feel stupid. He defended me when others mocked my accent, another added. Stood up for me when no one else would. The testimonies continued. A pattern emerged. Daniel had been quietly helping others all along. His kindness extended far beyond the creatures on Tarath 9. Torgath shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Shara stared at the floor. Finally, Kellen stood, Daniel's former study partner. I abandoned him, Kellen said. He asked to work together and I refused because others told me humans were inferior. I was wrong. About humans, about him, about what strength really means. Chancellor Vorath raised his hand. The room fell silent. This panel will deliberate. We will announce our decision shortly. They left, the wait felt eternal. Students whispered. Daniel sat alone at the front, trying not to hope too much. 15 minutes later, the panel returned. Vorath stood, his ancient eyes found Daniel's. We have reached a decision regarding your status at this academy. Daniel stood. His legs felt weak, but he met the Chancellor's gaze without flinching. Daniel Reed, all charges are dismissed. Gasps filled the room. Furthermore, this panel awards you the Compassion Star for demonstrating advanced understanding of xenobiology through empathy and courage. You have shown us that true strength lies not in dominance, but in wisdom. Vorath's expression softened slightly. I have learned something today about what it means to be strong. You are a credit to your species and to this academy. Well done. The gallery erupted in applause. Even some who had mocked Daniel before were clapping. Torgath sat frozen. Shara looked away. Daniel felt tears burn his eyes, but he blinked them back. Thank you, Chancellor. Do not thank me yet, Vorath said. You are now responsible for developing our new nonviolent creature management protocols, starting immediately. Daniel smiled. Yes, sir. As he left the chamber, students surrounded him, offering congratulations, asking questions. Bryn hugged him. Kellen apologized again, more earnestly this time. Through the crowd, Daniel saw Torgath watching. The Rakan student looked angry and ashamed. Their eyes met. Slowly, Torgath nodded, not friendship, but respect. It was a start. 3 weeks passed like a dream. Daniel no longer ate alone in the cafeteria. He no longer walked empty hallways between classes. Students who once ignored him now asked for his advice. Professor Drouth invited him to co-teach a seminar on alternative containment methods. The Silvern healed completely. The Thornback's infection cleared. Both creatures were scheduled for release back to Tarath 9 today. Daniel stood at the transport bay watching final preparations. Bryn joined him, along with Kellen and a dozen other students who wanted to witness the release. "Are you nervous?" Bryn asked. "Yes," Daniel admitted. "What if they are not ready? What if being here changed them too much?" "They are wild creatures," Kellen said gently. "They belong in the wild. You gave them that chance." The Silvern arrived first. It walked calmly beside its handlers, showing no aggression. When it saw Daniel, it pulled away and trotted to him directly. The creature pressed its head against his chest. Daniel wrapped his arms around it. "I will miss you," he whispered. "Stay safe out there." The Silvern made that musical purring sound. It licked his face once, then turned toward the transport ship. The Thornback came next. The massive predator moved carefully, still favoring its heeled legs slightly. When it reached Daniel, it lowered its head for him to touch. Daniel stroked the armored face. "Thank you for trusting me," he said, "for showing everyone that kindness matters." The Thornback rumbled deep in its chest, a sound of acknowledgement. Then it followed the Silvern into the ship. The journey to Tarath 9 was quiet. Daniel watched the creatures through the cargo bay window. They rested side by side, calm and peaceful. Two apex predators who should have been enemies, connected by shared experience of human compassion. The ship landed in the same region where the expedition began. The loading ramp lowered. Violet forest stretched endlessly. Daniel walked the creatures to the forest edge. Other students hung back, giving him this moment. He knelt before the Silvern one last time, carefully removed the bandage that had long since served its purpose. The paw was fully healed, no scars, no pain. "You are free," Daniel said. "Go live your life." The Silvern hesitated. It looked at Daniel, then at the forest, then back at Daniel, torn between wild instinct and newfound bond. "I will be okay," Daniel promised, "and so will you." The Silvern howled. The sound echoed through the trees, beautiful and mournful. Then it turned and ran into the forest. It paused once at the tree line, looked back, and vanished into shadows. The Thornback watched the Silvern go. Then it turned to Daniel. The massive creature lowered its head until its face was level with the humans. They stayed like that for a long moment, breathing the same air, connected across species by something neither could name but both understood. Then the Thornback rose and walked into the forest. Its footsteps faded. The forest swallowed it whole. Daniel stood there long after both creatures disappeared. Bryn touched his shoulder. "That was beautiful," she said. "It was goodbye," Daniel replied. "I hate goodbyes." They returned to the ship. As they lifted off, Daniel watched the forest below. Somewhere down there, two healed creatures were resuming their lives, changed by their encounter with a strange, soft human who chose bandages over weapons. Back at the academy, life continued, but differently. Torgath approached Daniel in the corridor one evening. The Rakan student looked uncomfortable. "Read a moment." Daniel stopped. They had not spoken since the hearing. "I was wrong about you," Torgath said. "About humans, I apologize for my cruelty." "Apology accepted." "I wonder," Torgath hesitated, "would you be willing to tutor me in your methods? I think I have much to learn." Daniel smiled. "Of course, we can start tomorrow." More students followed Torgath's example. Word spread beyond the academy. Daniel received messages from other institutions, requests for lectures, offers to study under him after graduation. News services ran stories about the human who talked to predators. Professor Drouth called him to his office one afternoon. "You have done something remarkable," the old Rakan said. Changed minds, changed protocols, changed the way we think about interspecies relations. I just helped some animals, Daniel said modestly. You did far more than that. You proved that evolution of empathy is as powerful as evolution of claws. Drouth pulled up a file on his display. I am offering you a research position after graduation, if you want it. Daniel stared. You want me to work here officially? I want you to continue what you started, teaching compassion, developing better methods, showing others that there is another way. Yes, Daniel said immediately. Yes, I accept. Weeks turned to months. Daniel's methods became standard curriculum. His papers were published in galactic journals. Other humans applied to the academy, citing him as inspiration. The change was slow but real. One evening, Daniel received an emergency message from Tarath 9. His heart sank. Had something happened to the creatures? He opened the message. It was from the preservation station, video footage attached. He played it. The video showed the Silvern in the forest, but it was not alone. Other Silverns surrounded it, a pack, and the original Silvern was demonstrating something to them. It approached a camera drone. Instead of attacking, it sat calmly. Let the drone scan it, then walked away peacefully. Subject has been observed teaching pack members non-aggressive behavior towards sentient technology, the message read. Appears to be transmitting learned behavior from human contact, requesting permission to study this development further. Daniel watched the video 3 more times. The Silvern was spreading compassion, teaching others what it learned. The ripple effect extended beyond anything he imagined. He sent approval for the study, then sat back in his chair. Through his window, stars filled the darkness. Somewhere out there, his grandmother was probably watching, proud of him, proud that her gift, her medical kit, helped start something beautiful. Daniel opened his journal and wrote, "Today I learned that kindness is not just an action. It is a seed. Plant it once and it grows forever, spreading farther than you can see, touching lives you will never meet." He closed the journal and looked at the stars again. Tomorrow he would teach, he would help, he would show others that compassion was not weakness. It was the strongest thing in the universe. Years later, Daniel Reed would become chief xenobiologist for the Galactic Council. His methods would revolutionize how species interacted across hundreds of worlds. But he never forgot where it began, in a dark cave on Tarath 9, with an injured Silvern, with a simple choice. Help or walk away. He chose help, and that made all the difference. The end.